Hello and welcome to the Truth from the Stand Deer Hunting Podcast. I'm your host, Clint Campbell, and you're listening to episode number 104. Today, John and I are recapping our trip to ATA and discussing a little bit of Stump John trivia. So stay tuned. All right. What is up, everyone? Happy Wednesday to you. Hope everyone out there in the whitetail world is feeling fine. So for most of us, it seems like, many of us probably at this point, our whitetail season has ended. I have just a handful more, a few more weeks here in Eastern PA to try to get it done. I went out last night, pulled a camera that I haven't checked in a while, and unbeknownst to me, two shooters kind of showed back up in the swamp. So I was kind of stoked about that. It seems like the swamp might be back in play, at least here for the last few weeks. I got one little tidbit, a piece of intel on my way out that I think might help me. I think I'm starting to figure this piece out just a little bit. The deer, for the most part, I think I mentioned this in the previous podcast, I guess pre-rut to, almost until recently, the deer just kind of disappeared in the typical place that I had a camera up, and I did hunt a different spot, did a little bit of scouting, found some sign and set up on it and bumped a buck out of a bed. This is a few weeks ago, and I know I'd mentioned that on a previous podcast. And then I found a little tidbit of information as I was headed out, because when I was checking the camera data, I saw what time these two particular shooters that were there during the summer were there in early fall all through October, then disappeared right around the 27th, 28th of October. They've both now come back, or two of them have come back. And I was looking at the information at the time that they were coming through, and the time that they're coming through tells me that and the direction from which they're traveling is that the challenge is it's kind of like the area that you have to use as access. So that's been the kind of struggle with this piece overall. What I started doing though is I started timing my access and not hunting it early. And of course in late season, I'm hunting it primarily, in the afternoons or in the evenings. But I started coming in, even if I were going to hunt earlier, during the time in which traffic would be heaviest, because it sits along or near a road that gets pretty heavy traffic. And so I kind of used the traffic noise on the road to cover my sound getting into the beginning of the swamp, because there's private property all around it, and I can't get access, at least to this point. I've not gotten access to any of the private land, even just like to kind of walk through to get into the swamp a little bit more easily. So I started using the noise from the road as cover to get in, and I've made it in successfully. Coming out, I have bumped deer out of the entry point, only because at that point, whenever I'm coming out, the traffic's not quite as heavy. And so the same thing kind of held true last evening. And so I have a feeling that the reason I'm getting images of these deer further back into the swamp at around 5:30 to 6:30, 7 o'clock, after daylight, is because they're traveling from that area and they're bedding in the area in which I'm entering, and I'm being stealthy enough coming in with the road noise that I'm getting past them, because they're kind of bedded early or very close to like the edge where you would just kind of immediately enter. And again, I heard a deer kind of moving whenever I walked through there on my exit out. So I think what my plan is going forward, and I'm hoping to maybe try this. If you're listening to this on Wednesday, I'm hoping to get out the Monday prior, but the weather's supposed to be kind of bad, high wind. So we'll just kind of play that by ear and see what happens. But I think my next hunt will be in the front of the swamp, in the area in which I think that they're bedding this time of year. Because once you get a little further back in there, it gets a little wet, now at this point it's freezing over. So there's not a ton of high ground back there for them to get to, to use as bedding. So I think that they're bedding closer to the front of the swamp. So that's at least going to be my next kind of try. See what happens. I'll report back, of course, and see if I had any success doing that. But other than that, this show, John and I are really going to kind of talk about a recap of ATA. So this is my second year going. John, of course, has been going for a while, especially, working with Tecumani and Wicked and so forth. He's there as a manufacturer. I go and help out at the booth, and I'm really there as just to kind of check things out, have some fun, meet some folks, help out at the booth, of course, a little bit, and then just kind of take the sights and sounds in of ATA. I always kind of look forward to this now every year. The trip to ATA, just because it's really the only time during the course of the year that I see a handful of folks. I usually see a couple of my buddies like my buddy Bo, it's like I'll see him here, and then I'll see him at the tack shootout around Pittsburgh. Even my buddy Chad that I hunt with. We'll see each other during the rut when we hunt together. Then usually, ATA or the Harrisburg show, and then that's about it. But so yeah, today we're going to just kind of cover what we saw there, all the products that we saw that launched that caught our eye. We're going to do a little session of, if you remember correctly, or if you remember at all, a few weeks ago, John and I did a session that was called a Stump John trivia session. So we're going to do another one of those with just some factoids. Just really kind of have a nice little BS session. John and I haven't had a chance to really catch up on the podcast, even though we were at ATA. It's so busy. We get a chance to talk here and there, but not like we get to sit down and chat like this on the podcast. So without further ado, let's go ahead and take care of the business end of this and talk about a couple of our partners that continue to help us make this podcast possible. We're brought to you by Wicked Tree Gear, the longest lasting, fastest cutting, toughest tree trimming equipment you have ever used. Simply put, the toughest saws on earth. How tough are they? Tough enough to come with a lifetime warranty. And right now, when you visit wickedtreegear.com, use the promo code TRUTH at checkout and get a 20% discount on your Wicked purchase. You can also expect there to be some new products hitting their website here in the not so distant future, and John and I talk about a few of those during the course of the podcast, so be on the lookout for those. We're also brought to you by Glacier Coolers, simply the world's finest. Whether you're hunting, camping, fishing, or whatever you're doing that you need a cold beverage, Glacier Coolers bring you smarter design, stronger construction, and superior insulation of Glacier Coolers. Visit them at glaciercoolers.com. Promo code TRUTH will save you 20%. And right about now, I'm starting to think about frost seeding here at the farm. And now is a great time to start to gather your products to do so. I'll be frost seeding some clover in a fall plot that I had planted, just so I have something for green up in the spring. And I'll be using Tecumseh's clover seed again this year. So everything is bigger and better in Texas, no matter if you're in the South Midwest or Northeast. Tecumseh has your food plot seed needs covered. Visit Tecumseh.com and check out their product selector tool to help pick the right seed for your food plot. Use the promo code TRUTH at checkout and save yourself 20%. And now, without further ado, let's go ahead and get John on the line. All right, folks, welcome back to another episode of the Truth from the Stand Deer Hunting Podcast. And you have another episode of the John and Clint Show. What's going on, man?
What is happening, my PA brother?
What is going on, my Iowa brother? Not much, man. Just trying to get over this ATA show crud that I managed to catch. I wake up every morning and can hardly talk, and I spend the rest of the day sounding like Johnny Cash. So
that's funny. I dodged it.
You know what that means?
I lost my voice a little bit, or I was starting to lose my voice a little bit after a couple of days of the show and a couple of nights of PBR. But other than that, I avoided the crud.
Yeah, well, you know what that means. You come to Harrisburg, you're going to get a double dose. Is all it means.
Oh, I'll have the flu like on day 4.
Yeah. I don't know. I started feeling kind of like off before I even got on the plane to fly to Kentucky. But
oh, gotcha.
You know what I mean? And I was kind of like, man. It was one of those things where I was like, I feel like I'm getting something, and I'm sure as hell going to have something when I come back. I was like, just because,
right.
As you know, man, it's like you run on fumes the whole time you're there. The days are busy. You're out in the evenings hanging out with buddies that you maybe only see like once a year, twice a year. You know what I mean? And then you're up early again the next day to do the show again, and it's just, last night I slept like a log. Like I haven't had sleep like that in I don't know how long.
Yeah. That's funny.
Yeah, it was like I had died. But today, John...
and I don't do well in hotels.
Oh,
like,
really?
Especially the first night. The first night in a hotel is just a complete waste. Like, I might as well just sit up and watch TV all night,
Right.
Then the second night, I don't know if it's like you're just so tired, or you're kind of getting used to like the new bed and a new pillow or something.
Right.
But yeah, like you said, man, you're running around at that show. You're on your feet. You're shaking hands, talking to people. You're having a few adult beverages, and maybe doing syringe tequila shots from some random person at the PBR.
Yeah, taking the cold sore shot. That's what I like to call it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, am I going to come home with a cold sore? She's like, no, we watch these things like fairly often. Like, oh, great.
It's funny that you say that because like all the people so I managed to stay away from like the syringe, cold sore shot, but every person around me that did take them, the first question out of their mouth before they bought it was, "Are these washed? And am I going to get a cold sore?" Like literally every person. It's like
Nobody wants a cold sore.
no, nobody wants one of those. Especially whenever you've been married for as long as you and I have. It's really hard to explain that away. You know what I mean? So it's like, no, seriously, I was taking tequila shots. Like, yeah, right. Sure you were. But dude, when I travel, man, I actually sleep like a log, dude. I have like zero problem falling asleep in random weird places. No issue.
Uh-huh.
I had like, I guess I'll tell this story now. I was going to kind of wait until we got into like our ATA, like full coverage. But, I told you this and I'll make it kind of quick, but I flew in my flight. I left a day earlier and came back a day later than I had originally planned. So the Airbnb that I had was really just for like the days of the show. So I had to scramble and find a place for Wednesday night and Saturday night. And I ended up just booking a room at someone's house. Like for the days of the show, I actually had like my own little cottage, and that's usually what I like to try to book. But I was flying in and my flight got super delayed where I didn't land until I want to say close to 1:00 a.m. In Louisville. And I managed to find a place that a guy had a room to stay in. And I was like, all right, fine. Just one night I'll stay in this room at this place, at this person's house. And I was texting him like as my flight.
The Airbnb, is it pretty cheap? Like,
is
it pretty affordable or?
Yeah, it's way cheaper, like in my opinion. Like, so I think, I had that whole house to myself, and I want to say it was like $50 a night or whatever for that like little cottage. Yeah. And like the rooms that I ended up getting were like $40 a night. So yeah, usually anytime
I need to do that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. It's like usually when we travel, even like my family, when we do a family vacation, we typically just Airbnb it and get a house because it's way less expensive than it would be to get a hotel for however long we're going to be, on vacation or whatever. So I got a room at this dude's house.
Sure.
And I text him and I was like, hey, sorry to bother you, but, my flight's coming in super late. The flight got way delayed and I'm going to get there probably around like 1:00 or whatever. And so he responds back, and I'm getting ready to get on the flight. He responds back, yeah, no problem. I'm going to go to bed. I'm just going to go ahead and leave the back door unlocked. And I was like, man, I would never do that. You know what I mean? I'd be like, okay, I'm not letting some strange person I don't know just walk into my house at night while I'm sleeping, number one. But I was like, all right, that's cool. Like, I'll just walk in and go to bed, whatever. I get on the flight, and I land, and I check my messages again real quick just to make sure he didn't send me anything else. And he did send me another message. And this one says, hey, just wanted to give you a heads up. There's a dude that lives in the basement that might be walking around. He lives here, so don't be alarmed. And I'm like, and as I'm going to the house, I'm like, man, this is effed up. I'm like, I'm just going in like blindly to some person's house that I don't know. Like two dudes live there that apparently like don't live together. They live like in different sections of the house. And I'm just going to walk in at like 2 a.m. into their unlocked back door and crawl into a bedroom. He was like, it's off the kitchen. I'll leave the door open for you. And I'm just going to go to sleep and like hope that they don't kill me and skin me in my sleep. So, yeah.
Man.
And I was
that's the sketchy side of that stuff. I mean,
yeah,
it makes perfect sense and it's cool. Like, you've got a guest bedroom. I don't know. Like, it's kind of. So, are some of them like you go and you're just renting like someone's bedroom? Like they've got like a spare bedroom they're not using, and so just a place to like flop for the night or whatever.
Yeah. So two of mine were like that. So that first one that I was just talking about.
I don't know if I could do that.
Yeah. Well, while I was approaching it, I was like, I had John Utah cop voice in my head where I'm like, yeah, he would not be digging this. I'm like, he would be like. So then on the way home, I ended up staying at this place that was this lady's house. And at first I was kind of like, okay, so some lady's going to let me like stay in her house, like some random dude she doesn't know. I'm like, this is just kind of weird, but I didn't have any other option. I was like, I needed a place to stay. And it was, two lesbians that lived at the house with like like their son or whatever. And he stayed up all night playing PlayStation video games online, basically keeping me awake all night. And so I didn't sleep at all that night. They came home drunk at like 1:00 in the morning as I was asleep, since I had to get up at like 3:45 for my flight. So like lesson learned is like book your travel before you book your room, because I could have had like my nice posh little, cottage to myself for the whole time if I would have been smart and like booked it the right way, but I did not. So I ended up with like the creepy, you know, it puts the lotion on house, and then the
well, yeah, I mean that would be my thing. Like if I was in somebody's room, I mean I would like, you know, lock the door, then probably grab like a chair and prop it up against the, you know, the knob, and I'd be afraid in the middle of my sleep I'd wake up, you know, with like the ultimate nightmare, like sitting in a bathtub of ice and somebody just stole a kidney or something. You know,
right? And I just literally like rolled in, was like, "Hey, what's up? This is the room. Cool." Laid down and went to sleep.
That's so random.
Yeah.
Like, hello, complete stranger.
Yeah.
I'm walking inside the privacy of your home.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna go sleep on your bed in your guest bedroom.
So I'll one
like,
up you on that. I literally was like watching the playoff football game on their couch and like passed out on their couch for like a solid hour in the middle of the afternoon. Like, you know.
Oh my god, dude! It's just like I can't even wrap my head around it.
Yeah, I was just so tired. I was like, I don't even care. I was like, I need to get some food.
Like, and you know, the house deals, like the cottage deals, like where you have the whole little cabin or cottage like to yourself, and okay, that's no different than like renting a chalet or something somewhere.
Right.
But the guest bedroom, or like, do they have discounted Airbnb where it's like we don't have a bedroom but we have a couch?
Dude, I'm sure you could probably find that somewhere. Well, I mean, it's not as bad as
$20 a night. You can crash on a couch.
Yeah. So yeah, but it's not as bad. Did you talk to Rodeo? And for those of you out there listening, Rodeo is Chad Sylvester from Exodus, since he was a rodeo guy in his day. Did you talk to Rodeo about his? Did you talk to him about his living situation or their situation?
Yeah, staying in a halfway house.
Yes. He was like he told me it got 5 stars online.
Yeah, like 5 out of 100.
Yeah,
was the rating.
Yeah, it was pretty special, you know. So at least I wasn't in their boat, which was 5
stars
awesome.
Isn't so bad when you're considering 20 to life.
Right, or like, you know, whenever you just when you just kind of like, you know, popped up out of the tent city like that, you know, that situation looks pretty good. I think they thought they were going to get their pizza stolen the one night when they had pizza delivery. They almost ordered 2 so they could give one away on the way back to their room.
Okay, total side story. When I was younger, right after college, I went to a party in Cincinnati, and after a night of partying, I got relatively hungry, and it was time to order pizzas. And so I asked some of the people that were there, I'm like, "Hey, who's the local pizza delivery people around here?" And they're like, "They don't deliver here." "What are you talking about?" And they said, "Yeah, there was one pizza company. They had a pizza guy that got mugged, and ultimately they murdered him and took his pizza and his money. And then another pizza company that was a couple of blocks away, they had like 4 of their drivers get mugged, and one had their car stolen, and one got sent to the hospital. He got beat up really bad. So all the pizza companies just said, you know, they just shut down their delivery service."
Right.
And I kind of looked around, and I'm like, it is time to go. Like, we are
Yeah.
partying in the wrong part of town.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm no longer worried about food. I'm worried about my own personal safety. I'm like, let's just get the heck out of Dodge.
Right. Or you should buy pizzas and like continue to throw them out the window as you drive out of town, just to kind of keep them at bay. Man, yeah,
Sheesh.
Yeah, it's always interesting, man. Like whenever you're going to like these different cities, because even when we went to, and we can talk about this, but you know, we went to the Axe Bar, like for the BHA after hour jam, and that was even in like a sketch part of town because you guys took off, and I had to go drop my stuff at the house, so I had to take an Uber to the house, and then turned around and came out to meet you guys, and like I'm totally solo. And Uber's another weird concept. I mean, you're just getting in the car randomly with some guy, and like you're not quite sure like how well they drive. Maybe they don't even have a license. I don't know. Maybe they borrowed their brother's car. You know what I mean?
It might be a stolen car.
Yeah, who knows? But you know, and so we're driving to meet you guys at the Axe Bar, and I'm like looking at the, like, you know, if you've spent enough time in cities, right, that like as you hit certain blocks and stuff, like you start kind of looking at like the buildings around you, and like, is there trash along the road excessive? You know, is there unkept, like, you know,
is there plywood in the windows?
Yeah, like all those things. And like it starts to turn to that as you get to the accent, and you always want to kind of stay away from like the you know, warehouse areas, because those typically, like, you know, are seedier kind of areas. I mean I rehearsed in those whenever I was in a band. We were always in some warehouse in some like crap district or whatever. But and I'm like, he's pulling into this alleyway. He's like, yeah, I'm thinking it's in the alleyway. And I'm like, man, this dude's pulling into this alleyway, going to try to mug me. They're going to try to rob me or whatever. Because I couldn't see like a sign for the Axe bar or whatever. And I'm like, he's like, you want to get out here? I'm like, no, dude. Like, I want you to pull up a little further so I can see the side of this building. And then, of course, like once we got up far enough, I could see in like the doors that like that clearly was like where the bar was at. But it was in the middle of nowhere in like a sketch part of town too.
Yeah.
But so anyway, I digress. We're not here to talk about our habits or I guess the poor decision making when it comes to locating housing or pizza at this point. But but so I wanted to do. So we're going to get into talking about ATA. So I guess I should say that first. Like, so the topic of today, like John and I, of course, were at ATA for the entirety of the event, and what we're going to do today is really kind of recap, what we saw at ATA, and just really what the events that kind of unfolded during those handful of days. But before we do that, do you recall, John, a few episodes ago? It was quite a few episodes ago now that we did the Ask John questions or Stump John questions. Do you remember that trivia session?
Yeah.
So I figured we would do round 2 of Ask John Anything questions. What do you think?
Sweet.
You game?
I'm ready.
Okay, random trivia. Here we go. So, a group of owls are called what? What are a group of owls called? Cue Jeopardy music.
Yeah. A group of owls.
Yeah. I would never know this.
I don't know. They're like a posse?
No, they are called a parliament. Who would have think?
A parliament?
Parliament, yeah.
Like George Clinton, Funkadelic.
That's exact. You know what's hilarious is that was the first thing I said whenever my wife told me what the answer was. I get all these from my wife. Yeah. I'm not smart enough to know any of this stuff on my own. I thought of the exact same thing. George Clinton and the P-Funk All-Stars. Second question. You'll not probably get this one either. I had no clue. A group of foxes are called what? See, animal theme here.
A group of foxes are called... Oh, man. It seems like I used to know that.
Begins with an S.
Begins with an S? As like S is in Sam?
S is in Sam.
Squad.
Skulk. I didn't even know that was a word. Skulk.
A skulk?
Yeah. SKULK, I think is how you spell it. Skulk.
A skulk. Huh.
Yeah. So now this one.
What the heck?
Yeah, I know, right? So this one's a little bit tricky. So last time we only did 2. We're going to do 3 on this one. So this one's a little bit tricky. Kind of tricky, I guess. What is the tallest mountain in the world?
Oh. Now I feel like a real moron.
As opposed to how you and I usually live, which is like as like a make believe moron. That's how we usually play.
Yeah, I kind of feel educated, but the tallest mountain in the world.
Yeah.
I mean, is it Everest?
That's what I thought too. And so this is why it's tricky. It's actually Mauna Kea in Hawaii. It is 32,000 feet if you measure from the sea floor. Only 13,000 of it is above sea level.
Oh, that's a ripoff.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's one of those like trick questions.
All right, you did great though. You got an A for effort on all of those.
Yeah.
So, all right. So now back to the discussion at hand here, ATA. So first, I guess, let me ask you this. I know you and I, you get limited time to kind of go out and walk the floor because of course, being there, as your job with Tecumani and Wicked and, Tecumani Seed and Glacier Coolers and stuff like that, and making sure that you're doing, your duties for your day job. But as you did get out and kind of get the peruse and kind of walk around a little bit, what were some of the things that you saw that kind of caught your eye that were kind of the cool like showstoppers of this year?
So the very first thing that came to mind that I knew I wanted to check out was the Lone Wolf custom gear.
Yeah.
And that's been a hot topic on a lot of people's, podcasts and Q&As and stuff. the infamous Andre DeQuisto comes back. You know what I mean, kind of thing. So there's a whole lot of hype. It's if there was like the man in the black hat, kind of thing.
Yeah,
that would be Andre, right?
Yep.
So he's coming back with the Lone Wolf custom gear, and I wanted to see what innovative stuff he had. Obviously, the original Lone Wolf stuff was very, very, innovative, and it is still innovative in its own right.
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted to check out some of that stuff, and that was super cool. There was some other offshoot things like earth blinds.
Mm-hmm.
They redesigned their blind complete new mold. It looks totally different. It's a cool blind. It was real neat to see. I just like seeing innovation. I like seeing people change up their products and stuff like that. So, let's see. Company called Shield has some really cool, like, medical field technology, some stuff that they're doing that actually a product that treats the skin cells themselves. And got to talk to those guys over there and get like a full rundown, and it made me think about a lot of different things as far as my scent control game. And very happy to announce that I actually just signed a partnership with Shield.
Nice.
For 2019. So some really cool stuff there that I was anxious to see. Hey, Wicked Tree Gear, had some new products. That was cool. I won't give a shameless plug there, but
well, I will, because the hatchet is because I want a hatchet, like in the worst way. I literally chop wood every Saturday and Sunday there in the winter because I make a fire in the fireplace, and so I go out in the mornings with my little makeshift hatchet that I have, and I chop my kindling up, so I can get my fire started. And that thing would be way better than the one that I'm currently using. So that thing is badass. The axe is badass. And then, dude, there was a lot of people asking about the oh man, I'm just completely losing it. It's the not extension. It's the add-on that has the pruners.
The road pruner?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
There was a ton of people that were stopping by checking that out. It seems like a lot of folks were waiting for Wicked to kind of have that, adapter to put on the end of the pole saws. It feels like a lot of folks were just really kind of, looking for Wicked to put one of those out to kind of complete their set of, pole saw, trimming needs, essentially. So I know that I talked to a lot of folks at the booth about that piece, specifically, which was cool. So.
Yep. Yeah, on the Wicked side of things, it was amazing. Like, I've had over 24 emails already that have come in through the website, and people are like, I want to buy the hatchet. Where is the hatchet? I don't see it on the website anywhere,
Yeah.
And I'm like, yes, we released the product. That was the unveiling. The first shipment is on its way, and hopefully, somewhere around 30-45 days, they'll be available on the website. So, unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to have them at Harrisburg, which makes me really, really upset.
Right.
Because that was the game plan, was to do the first run of them at the show there. But I'm thinking about setting up a pre-order spot on the website. They can go ahead and pre-order.
Nice.
And see if we can get that situated. But
nice.
Let's see. I'm trying to think. This year, like I remember last year, like the Primos, like see-through blinds.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of one of the hot items last year. And I think, in all honesty, it might have been the Lone Wolf custom gear was kind of the hot topic.
Yeah.
Overall.
I would have to agree with you, man. Like, that was, for me, walking into the show, I mean, they did a good job of creating mystery prior to ATA, of like everyone was wanting to know what was going on. I mean, it was, anyone who is a mobile hunter at all, or is a fan of Lone Wolf, or follows, the Hunting Beast, or any one of these, forums or different brands, they were all clamoring to know, like, was it a different company? Is it part of Lone Wolf? Are they going out on their own? Like, what was the kind of, I guess, the format, so to speak? I was kind of surprised. I was kind of surprised. Like I went over and kind of checked out and watched Andre give a demo. Just kind of walk through all the, all the specs of it and stuff like that, which was cool. And they definitely shaved weight on everything, and they're definitely using a different metal property that it's I can say that it's not cast, which is cool.
Yep.
But I was really surprised. Like I didn't. What people might be surprised to know, I guess, the better way to put it is that they're actually got into like the game camera market too. So that was a little bit surprising to me, is that they were jumping in, like, because he's obviously known for his creation of Lone Wolf and his ability to engineer and create stands, that are mobile and killer, right? But I was surprised that there was a stand that was part of it. The other part too that I think that was interesting was that he created this almost like little turbine that goes on the end of an arrow.
Cool.
Yeah, and that is the idea of it is it's supposed to take the air. If you put it, so essentially for everyone out there listening who can't see my hands, you essentially would take your arrow and you would put this on your arrow prior to putting on your broadhead or your field points, and basically it's this turbine that has like all these slotted holes, or this little cylinder piece that has all these slotted holes, and it's a little wider than what your arrow is, of course, because it kind of fits over top of it. And then whenever you release your arrow, the idea is that this turbine then does what a turbine does, which is kind of move air away from the arrow and create a stable environment for the arrow to travel, right? Which is, I don't know. I'm not a physics guy, like, necessarily. So it's like, I'm like, it makes sense to me. But as I'm looking at it though, the only thing that I could kind of keep thinking of that I was like, I think science-wise it makes sense. Like, I get it, what's trying to get done here. I would love to shoot one or see one shot, because I just have, and someone asked him this, I have a hard time believing it's not going to make any noise. You know what I mean? Like, that's my only hang up with it. And like, he was asked that, and he said that there was no noise with it. But I would definitely, that's one of those things where I would have to see it / shoot it, use it to believe it. For me personally, I couldn't go on blind faith on that, just because some wind going through small slots just feels like it's going to make noise to me, at least.
Right. It's like when you have like a window crack. I mean, it's like the smaller the crack, the more noise it makes. Right,
because I was like, maybe I can't hear it, but that doesn't mean that deer can't hear it, that there's not noise.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So, but supposedly they tested it with some type of decibel reader, and it's quiet. So, I would be interested to know anyone who ends up getting, some of these. If you're listening and you end up getting some of these and trying them out, I'd love for you to just kind of send an email or hit us on social or whatever and let us know what you find out. But so I thought that was cool. His sticks, he obviously made some lighter sticks, and he actually went with a longer stick, a 3-step stick and a 2-step stick, which I thought was kind of cool, because I've been looking at a new climbing method for my saddle, and those 2-step sticks kind of got me a little bit interested. But I think the other reaction, at the show and just overall, was that the price point on all those pieces related to the stand specifically were pretty
sticker shock.
Pretty salty. I think the stand was like $500, and I want to say like the sticks are, don't quote me, but I want to say they're like $90 or something like that. The 3-step sticks. Yeah. So you're definitely going to have some money sunk into it if that's the route you want to go. I would say everything that I looked at seemed like quality. So I think you're going to get a quality piece that's going to last. You know what I mean? I don't know that you'd want to buy 10 of these and hang them up around your farm. I think you'd probably want to buy one, and that's what you use from here on out. So,
right.
But
for sure.
I'm trying to think of the other thing that I saw. So the one thing that I saw that was cool, I actually didn't make it over to see it, but I saw it posted on social media, was actually something that was like these really small, like adapters, or I don't know if to call them adapters, like almost like pieces of metal to actually take antlers, like to take your sheds and place your sheds.
Oh yeah, that was cool.
To be. Yeah, that was one of those things where
I think it's called the rack hub or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. But I was like, why couldn't I think of something like that? Like, that's a perfect like solution to like a problem that every shed hunter has. Because otherwise, they just end up laying
something to display really cool, like a map set or something.
Yeah, because otherwise, I mean, they just either they lay in a pile in a room somewhere, or they end up in your garage somewhere. Or if you are getting creative and going to use them as decor, it's like you're probably hanging them on like corners of walls, or maybe you have like some barbed wire somewhere, or like something in your house you can kind of hang them on to display them, or across the mantle, above a fireplace or something. But like, This gives you a real way to kind of like display, especially what you just said, like, the match sets and stuff like that, which would be really cool. My problem is though, I would just have to find some sheds at some point to use it. That's my only downfall there. So
well, we're going to work on that when you come out here this spring.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like the worst shed finder.
Anything you find in public is fair game.
Nice.
You can help me find as many as you want on my lease though.
Yo, yeah, I'll no problem. I'll do that. That's for sure. Especially if I get an invite in the fall to maybe come sit a day on it, I'll definitely find you some shit. I'm just kidding.
There you go.
And the other thing that I saw that, well, I didn't see it again. I missed it somehow. But I was talking to Brandon about it, and he was saying, I think it was Reinhardt. And this is just one of those small, like, innovation. Like, what I love about innovation is it doesn't have to be like a big, like, game-changing thing. Like the DeQuistos thing was like, they're trying to change the game a little bit, you know what I mean, with advancing tree stand technology, you know what I mean? And everyone will have an argument as to like how far it was advanced or not, which is, everyone's entitled to their opinion. But I love like the small little like small changes that you actually notice. Like one of the biggest pains in the ass for me in shooting my target is that like the legs on the fronts and the backs of the legs all come off independently. So like when you shoot, especially I shoot a heavy arrow, hits the target, jostles it around, and all of a sudden, like, my legs start sliding out, and every time I go up to get my arrows, I'm having to push the legs back in. Well, I think, I don't know if you remember which brand it was, but I think he said it was Reinhardt actually made a leg piece that both legs were on it, and it was one slider piece that basically slid, like, the entire length of the body. So it came in, like, two pieces. So it was, like, the body and then the legs kind of slid on the entire length of the body. That way, once it was on, they weren't going to like independently fall off, and it was more sturdy. And that was like, to me, that was innovation, because it was like that was clearly a problem that archers had for in using those specific targets, and they came up with a solution for it. So that was super cool.
I'm looking up Reinhardt right now.
Yeah, because I couldn't remember if it was
their website. I couldn't remember if I see anything about that. Yeah, you had mentioned that, and I meant to go look at that, but didn't get a chance.
Yeah, again, I mean, because Brandon came over and had mentioned it to me, and I ended up going past the Reinhardt booth, but I was on a mission to get somewhere, and then on my way back, I just totally forgot to stop by and check it out. But I love the idea. I think I know I struggle with that, and it's a pain in the ass dealing with the target that way. So, I would definitely be something that's probably one of the few things, because it's always different. It's always interesting at ATA, whether you see things and you're like, oh, that's cool, or I would actually buy that. Because there's a lot of, oh, that's cool stuff, that you see that's just like, I never thought of that, or that's interesting. But like, there's very few things that I see that I think that I would use that would be practical. You know what I mean? If that makes sense.
Sure.
Yep. I'm trying to think anything else. I know that you and I, before the season, we were talking about, I think we were both going, well, we both definitely changed sights this year, as far as like, whether we were shooting multi-pin or single pin or whatever this year. And so I did check out the Trophy Ridge has a new 3-pin sight that they put out. They only have 2 new sights that came out this year. One was the Alpha 1, which I currently shoot, but they put it on a slider, which I don't know if I'm really all that into the slider necessarily, but they did come out with a 3-pin sight, which I thought was cool, that you actually put the first 2 in place, like you would almost like old school, and then it has a third floating pin that you actually use a knob to kind of micro adjust like you would, any other type of micro adjust sight or whatever, which I thought was kind of cool. Kind of gives you, because I know you and I were kind of going back and forth. It's like, do I like the single pin, or would I prefer to have 3 pins only, 2 pins that were like locked in, and like a third that you could kind of move around based on where you're going to be hunting and what distances you were going to be able to shoot, so that was kind of cool. And then you probably have more information about this than I did. I had a chance to swing by and check it out, but I know Sitka has some new stuff coming out as well. They have like I think it's stuff that repels burrs, and repels probably not the right word, but I don't know. Do you have any more information on that?
Yeah. So, and I forgive me for not saying like new stuff at the show. The new Fanatic stuff, the way that they changed the Fanatic series stuff from Sitka, I actually hunted out of it in the fall of 2017, and then again in 2018. But
doing a little testing.
There is a new backpack, the new Fanatic backpack that they released, and it's all fleece, Berber material. Mm-hmm. Makes zero sound whatsoever.
Nice.
Super cool. And then the new Fanatic bibs and the new Fanatic jacket, what they did is on the lower pieces, basically like from the knees down, they got rid of all of the Berber,
Mm-hmm.
you know, where you're more likely to pick up a lot of that crap, all the burrs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And same thing on the lower side of the jacket. What they also have done is gotten rid of some material, some of the Berber on the inside elbow of the arms of these jackets as well. So that was super awesome. So you don't have that bunch up on the inside of your arm whenever you go to draw. You don't have all that excess material that's going to bound up in between your bicep and your forearm.
Yeah, and I have a big problem with that because my biceps are so big.
Gun show.
And that was a hint of sarcasm if no one else could pick that up.
Anything more than just a t-shirt. I can't totally draw.
I mean, I hunt late season in a V-neck t-shirt because it's just I'm so swole, you know. No, I would definitely like to check that out, man, because my only gripe with any of my Sitka stuff is really just like my super late season, Fanatic stuff, just because some of the places I do hunt are kind of gnarly, and I definitely get covered in burrs, but I mean it's so warm. I'm like whatever, I'm gonna deal with it because it's it's the warmest stuff that I have, and it works, so if they solve that Rubik's cube, I may have to take a look and make an additional investment in some of those pieces. But yeah, I walked by the booth and checked that out, and that was definitely something I want to kind of look into. Were there any other? I'm trying to think if there were any other products that caught my eye, and I can't say that like those were like the main ones for me. Like I don't recall anything else that was just like show stopping necessarily that I had to go like absolutely check out. Is there anything else that comes to mind for you?
Trying to think here.
I mean, it's kind of weird because like this is the place where everyone launches their products, but like all the bow manufacturers release all their bows prior to ATA. So everyone kind of knows, what every bow manufacturer has to offer.
Here's one. Actually, Covert released a couple of new cams.
Oh, nice.
They did they doubled the megapixels on everything.
Wow. Nice.
Yeah. So one of their, what used to be was one of their more price-friendly cameras called the MP8. Mm-hmm. It's actually now called the MP16.
Nice.
And it's a budget-friendly 16-megapixel trail camera.
Nice.
Which is pretty awesome.
Yeah. I'm trying to think.
They released a new camera called the Hollywood, and it used to be called the Illuminator. They redesigned it, but it's a white flash camera. And I've used some white flash stuff. Obviously, I used it before the black infrared days and the red light stuff, but I've never had deer freak out over white flash.
Yeah, I can't say that I have necessarily either. But again, it's one of those things that like I was using white flash, whenever that was predominantly what you had available to you, or the price point was just better for my budget. And I don't know that I ever saw like a big difference in their behavior. But I will also say that I don't know that I was as acutely tuned into their behavior as I am now, though, either. So, I don't know if it's more my, lack of observation or lack of their behavior change necessarily. So I couldn't say anything with any type of certainty. But that's interesting that you've not had any kind of change.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I haven't had any of that kind of stuff going. I think, in my experience, the deer seem like they get more freaked out over the noise if they hear the camera go off. Like it winds up or, it takes a picture or whatever. Like that seems to be more what I see. Like, You know, you get one picture of the deer on high alert, and then if you're doing like a 2 photo burst, the next picture is like, you know, the deer's, you know, blood running away.
Yeah. I've definitely noticed that. Like, I've even noticed that myself when I walked in front of one just to test it, and I heard it, and I was like, yeah, we're pulling. I'm like, we're pulling this one. I was like, this one's out.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I don't know. I did. I mean, a lot of times. Well, I shouldn't say a lot of times because this is only my second ATA. But last year, I made a point to kind of go around and shoot a bunch of the bows. This year, I did not make it around and shoot a bunch of the bows. I did visit the Obsession booth only because I wanted to check out. I knew that I was going to be getting an Obsession, and I wanted to check out what was. Basically, what the Lawless, which is their like their new flagship bow, they have a couple that are coming out, and I wanted to check that out and see how that shot because I'm going to figure out which bow I want to get. And then they actually released the one called an FX30 that actually released the opening day of the show. Like, it wasn't even on their website. They weren't sure it was even going to be ready for ATA, and I shot that, and I actually think the FX30 is actually the one that I'm gonna pick up, which is cool. They both shot well. I mean, I was having this conversation with I can say our mutual friend now since I know him, but Billy C. I was talking to him, and we were just talking about bows in general, and it's just like, man, all the bow manufacturers now, it's like when you shoot their flagship bows, like they're all killer bows, and it just really
everybody's got their A game going.
Yeah, and it all really just comes down to like, how does it feel when you shoot it? You know what I mean? And do you like it? And that's really, you know, what it comes down to, because, you know, I know that I shot Matthews before. I shoot Obsession now. I've shot Primes. I've shot, you know, the top line Hoyts, and it's like, and you could give me any one of them and I would be happy. You know what I mean? Like, to hunt with, and I'd be able to get the job done. It just comes down to like, how does it feel in your hand, and how does it shoot essentially for you? You know what I mean? And what do you like? So, but I did check those out. The one thing I wanted to check out that I didn't get to is I don't know if you saw it or not, but I didn't see a booth for Carter anywhere, and I wanted to check out some of their thumb releases, but I didn't see their booth anywhere. Did you see them there, or were they missing?
You know, I don't know. I'll tell you what I'll do right now. Pulling up the old ATA app on my mobile device.
Look at you being all technologically advanced.
Carter was even there, because I don't recall seeing him as well.
No, I didn't see him, and I was wanting to swing by and check out some releases, because that's kind of like, you know, one of the things I want to change up this year is my release, and I was hoping to be able to make a little bit of a test run there and kind of have someone walk.
Carter Enterprises.
They were there.
2507. They were kind of sandwiched in. There was a lot of big booths around there that broke up the aisles, and I guarantee that's why you didn't see them.
Yeah, because I scoured, like, I felt like I scoured like everything and just didn't run across them, which stinks, because that was kind of one of the main things I wanted to go check out, which is a bummer. But man, I think that's like, I think that's, you know, for me, those were kind of like the highlights of the show as far as like the products and stuff like that. You know, is there anything else that, before we move off this topic, that caught your eye that you thought was kind of cool, or that you heard of? I mean, like I said, as far as like new stuff that I wanted to see in person myself, that's pretty much, you know, that's pretty much it. Right.
I think. Right. You know, Prime had their new CT series, Logic bows and stuff, but I was fortunate I've got one already. But you know, I did go over there and shoot theirs, because I haven't actually built mine up yet. I haven't shot mine yet, so so that was cool. But
nice.
You know, let's see. Oh, I'll tell you one thing I did do that I thought was pretty neat. On G5 has done some videos where they've done some broadhead testing, and their old original Montec broadhead, it's been knocked off so many times on Amazon, all these like Chinese counterfeits and stuff like that. Right. And it looks just like a Montec. So they set up a guillotine type deal. It's almost like a lead sled. And they're punching through like big, thick chunks of aluminum. And They screw on one of the imitations, they send it down onto this chunk of aluminum, and it just shatters into like little pieces, looks like confetti. And then they use one of theirs, and it was actually going all the way into the aluminum and not damaging the broadhead. So that was kind of neat. Actually, they brought the same machine that they built themselves just for that test, just to show people like it's not a fluke. You know, we weren't just doing any trick photography or videography. This is the actual machine that we used, and that was pretty cool. I videoed some of that.
Nice. That is cool. I'm always like, it is. I like the booths that actually do the tests right there. Like those are pretty, those are pretty cool. You know that, and it also shows.
Is it Gold Tip that does the spin? Is it Gold Tip that does the spin test every year? It's pretty neat. They put competitors' arrow shafts into this machine, and they spin them, and they explode and stuff like that.
You know what? Neat. I think it is, because I stopped and watched it for a second. I didn't watch one explode. I ended up walking by, but I looked at. I saw them kind of setting it up, and I was like, I wonder if they're going to try to break arrows in that. So I guess the answer is yes.
Yeah.
So
it's pretty neat.
Cool. Well, I think the one thing that I think we all always kind of look forward to during this trip, it's always like the big night, is the Badlands Film Festival, which is always a good time, you know, and it's always packed, which is super rad. You always stand in line for beer a super long time, which is not so rad, but it's kind of part and parcel with it. But I'm curious, you know, you have a much keener eye than I. You know, you are a filmmaker. That is one of your skills and one of your trades that you practice. You know, so I would like to get your take on, you know, on the films overall, and just kind of, I guess, your analysis of them, and then I'll give my my layman's 2 cents.
Well, so first off, you know, the Badlands Film Festival, as an overview, is a collective that they put on. People submit films that they have created that are documenting a hunt or documenting a moment of life. But hunting and the hunting lifestyle is always the centerpiece, some way, shape, or form tied into it all. And there's 2 different categories. You can do the long feature film, or you can do the shorts. The shorts are like under 3 minutes, and the longs are like 5 to 8 minutes. So they're all relatively short, you know, in the grand scheme of things, but extremely powerful. I think they're all kind of like that Andy Griffith style, where at the end of every short film you see, there's story that was gained or lost along that film. They get hundreds and hundreds of entries to be submitted, and you know, they have a very tough job of usually selecting 8 per category.
Right.
So it's a really tough thing to be selected, and kudos to everybody who's ever sent a film, because man, you're putting yourself out there. You know, like, you're showing it to the world. It might be a private film that you did, and you're showing it to the world, and you're going to get the reactions, good, bad, or ugly. And obviously there was films that connected to me more, that I liked more than others. It doesn't mean that any of them sucked by any means.
Right.
But some were better than others, in my opinion, that resonated with me, or the videography was better, or the story was better. But it was super awesome that you're in a room full of hunters, and a round of applause, you know, for everybody.
Yeah.
So that's always nice to hear. But you know, the film that won this year, jeez.
Yeah.
Like, what a tearjerker, man.
Yeah.
You know,
no
like, I legitimately was like,
yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It was like, oh man, I got something in my eye. Just hold on a second. You know, it was one of those. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And you know, they do a good job. So I don't want to spoil it for anybody. But you can go on YouTube and you can Google Badlands Film Festival, and you can look at all the past years. I don't know how long it'll take for them to get this year's entries up on there. The ones that made it to the final round that we all got to see. But you know, Matt Zinger always has a film in there. You know, he kills it every year. This year, Matt Zinger, I think he finished 4th in his category, and I do think that he should have placed a little higher.
Yeah.
but it's Matt Zinger, so like everybody expects him to have like a badass film. You know what I mean? So,
and he always.
I think
I was just gonna say
that was the reason why he was fourth and not a little bit higher.
Right. He always takes. He also uses that opportunity to. I mean, his videography is always on point and amazing, right? And like you say, I think he's sometimes a victim of his own success to a degree, right? Where it's like his stuff is so good that people just kind of like expect.
They just assume that that's what he's always supposed to do.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like the quarterback, that is, a Hall of Famer that has great games every game. Like you kind of like expect that's the status quo. When they have an average game, you're kind of like, huh? Well, why do you stink today?
That sucks.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think that's part of it. I think the other cool thing about what he does too, and I'm not going to give away what the film was about, although he did put out a trailer that was pretty telling, what it was about, is that he takes the opportunity to he has an audience and he understands it. And I think this is why he's a good ambassador for hunting in general, is that he understands the audience that he has in that moment, right? He has a captive room, right, of people who have networks and the ability to how should I say it, like change minds and impact people beyond themselves, right?
Maybe we could even say influence.
Right. He has a room full of people. I was trying not to go there, but yes.
Title of the film.
Yeah, exactly. He has a room full of people who have influence, whether you are a person who works for a brand, regardless of the size, right? You have influence because you probably have staff and you probably have, relationships with hunters and you have relationships with stores and like all these things. And then there's the side of it too that you play a dual role in, which you are part of a brand, but then you are also an influencer in your own right because, well, you're on this podcast and you have a social media presence and you have your Arrow Wild, web TV show that you run as well, which is all like influencing people's perspectives about hunting. And then you have people like me who are there, and my only existence in the outdoor industry at all is I run a podcast and have a social media presence. You know what I mean? Like, and so everyone has this sphere of influence, and so he understands that he has a captive audience who has reach beyond just his own, right? So his reach is pretty massive just in general, but if he can talk to a room full of people who also have reach, like it magnifies his message to a degree, right? Or has the opportunity to. And that, what I think is interesting about him is that is never lost on him. And he takes that opportunity to take a topic that is, exists in the hunting and outdoor industry in general and kind of kick the hornet's nest a little bit, man. You know what I mean? Like he makes no bones about, like, he calls out what he thinks is, not so specifically, but you walk away knowing how he feels about a certain topic. Let's put it that way.
Oh, for sure.
You know what I mean? Which I think is really cool. So it's like, I almost look at it like he looks at that as an opportunity to send a message and challenge the audience. Like it's kind of how I see it versus trying to win the film festival necessarily. I think for him, winning the film festival would be like icing on the cake, but I think for him, it's all about sending the right message and challenging the audience of, a group of people who have the ability to make some changes and influence others beyond the scope of that room. So I think he kind of does that purposefully, knowing that it might not be in his best interest to actually win the event. So that's cool that he takes that approach. But so yeah, I thought the films were good. Like my synopsis is the same as yours. Films were killer. Anyone who does it and puts himself out there like that, kudos to you. The one that won, again, I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag, either. And it was a tearjerker. And if you see it, you'll know which one we're talking about. I thought the shorts were cool too, man. I thought, it was interesting. This isn't giving anything away, but there was more bear hunting this year than there was last year. And I thought that was kind of interesting.
A lot more. Yeah.
Yeah. Because the year prior, it was a lot of whitetail, a lot of elk. So. Yeah.
And a good mix. I mean, granted, there was a lot of compound, but there was some recurve and longbow stuff too. So that's always cool to see.
Yeah. So we've been going on for getting close to an hour here. We've got two more pieces here. So during the entire whatever how many days we're there, what is your favorite part of ATA?
My favorite part of ATA.
Yeah.
Everybody's under one roof. I mean, like I made a comment, that, my buddy Billy, that you got to meet, that he was like, dude, he's like, ATA is awesome. And we were just talking about how, you bump into people that you see and you talk to all your friends and family and whatnot. And I call them family because it's all like a bunch of brothers, Yeah. And when I go to SHOT Show, like, I don't hardly know anybody,
right. Yeah.
Like, I'll know people in the Mystery Ranch booth and the Sitka booth, and that's about it.
Right.
So, because I'm not a gun hunter,
Right.
But ATA is it's so much fun getting to see all your friends and your buddies and seeing all the gear, and because this is all the products, everything is based around archery. So that's super awesome. That is my favorite part of ATA. Is in a weird way, ATA is a show that I wish was longer.
Yeah.
Even if it's just another day, like other shows that I do, like I do a landscape show that the first day, it's a half day, it's just a dealer day. Mm-hmm. And then the next 2 days are open to the public. I'm not saying I want ATA to be open to the public by any means.
Right.
But what I would like to see is there almost be like a just manufacturer's day.
Mm-hmm.
To where you got to go around and really walk and talk to and see all the other manufacturers yourself. Yeah. Because, once you're in your booth, man, you're kind of there. You're kind of stuck.
Yeah. You
don't get to see everybody else's stuff.
Yeah, agreed. I think my favorite part of it is kind of what you said, which is, for me, you kind of play a dual role because you're there as a manufacturer, right, with a brand, and I am too there supporting Tecumani. But I'm also there as like someone who just likes to go and kind of check this stuff out. My job is really to kind of help provide relief to you when you need to go take some walks and go check out some stuff. You know what I mean? That's kind of my jobs in those things. You're like, hey Clint, I gotta go run at like 2 to 4 o'clock. Can you watch the booth for 2 hours? Like, yep, got it. That's kind of my job. But for me, because I don't have like a dog in the fight as far as like, I don't work for any said brand as far as like, it's not my, quote unquote day job. But, for me, it's about, man, I just meet like the coolest people there. You know what I mean? And it's I always kind of walk away from that event now, for 2 years in a row, just going, man, I've made friends there that I'll have like for the rest of my life, probably. You know what I mean? And it's all around this bond of like your buddy Andy from Diamondback Truck Covers, right?
Yep.
From Harrisburg, like an hour and 20 minutes from me, super cool guy. Hung out with him like, we hung out all that one night. He stopped by the booth the next day. And that's a dude where we already made plans. It's like, hey, you should come over to the house. Well, I know he doesn't hunt right now, but he wants to get into it. And I was like, dude, we'll get you a bow and I'll take you to the range and we'll figure it out. You know what I mean? And we'll get you shooting. We'll get you in the timber to hunt. You know what I mean? It's like, we've already kind of made plans to like, hang out. And I was like, this is a dude I could like hang out and spend some time with and be friends with. Like, he's just that quality of a person. Billy C, your buddy that filmed your buck kill. Awesome dude.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Never met him a day in my life until he came to the show. And, we've been messaging back and forth already because he's going to come on the show to, just to chat and talk deer hunting or whatever. But like, super good dude. You know what I mean? Brandon's killer. Taylor was along this time from Early Outdoors, killer dude. Had a great conversation with Wade James, like awesome dude. It's just like these guys that, you really only see once at these shows, but like once they see you, man, it's like I walk by and like they'll remember you from like last year. And like, hey man, what's going on? And it's just, it's the camaraderie that is cool. Like where everyone was at that one bar that one night watching like the dude, I forget the guy, I guess it was Aaron Lewis that used to be from Stained or was Stained, was playing.
Yep.
Lots of dudes at a bar having beers, having a good time. Like anywhere else, that many dudes in one place with beverages, like you could almost guarantee that a fight was going to break out. Not right. You know what I'm saying? Not one skirmish. Nothing.
No.
You know what I mean? Like
no.
And that I just thought was kind of interesting, right? Because of all the like hangouts at bars that we've done like in our youth and me playing and touring and stuff like that. It's like there was always like one asshole. you know what I mean, that was going to start something, you know what I mean? And this group of dudes is just like everybody, or the whole group, girls and guys, it's just like everyone's there for the same thing, like the hunting kind of brotherhood, you know, and everyone had a lot of respect for one another, which was super cool. So that was my favorite thing. You already kind of mentioned your least favorite thing, which is that you wished it was a little longer, or like a day longer. Is there anything else that you don't prefer about ATA?
So, and this is kind of catch-22 for me, because like the manufacturers that are there, we spend a lot of money to be there. Mm-hmm. Booth space. We spend hotels, travel, meals, new products. We're giving away some stuff. I mean, it's just, you know, shipping all the product in the booth and all that kind of stuff there. Right. So our idea of a good time is we have a bunch of dealers that come by the booth, and we get to place some early orders and meet with our dealers and show them what we got and interact with them and try to get some more wicked gear in different shops. The part that I don't like, I'll just go ahead and say it, is all the media sales. Yeah. I mean, I love talking with marketing companies and media sale companies, and I get it. That is the spot where everybody is under one roof, so you get to go talk to everybody and drum up some business. And it's a whole industry, it's a whole cycle. You know, you got to do marketing, and marketing leads to sales, and sales leads to dollars, which then becomes products. You have a successful company, you innovate new product, and you just keep the cycle going, right? Right. But, you know, for every 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes that I'm talking to a media person, that's 20, 30 minutes that I'm not talking to a dealer making sales. Yep. So, you know, maybe that's the better way to do it. Maybe one day of the show is media only. Right. And you set appointments. And then the rest of the days are traditional show. But it's just always that struggle. Like I said, you're only there for 3 days, and you know, you're trying to talk to dealers, you're trying to talk to marketing companies and salespeople, and you're talking to your rep group, and then you're also catching up with your buddies, and then you're talking with the shows and the people, the marketing partners that you have in place already, and it's just very limited. I mean, I think Friday alone, I did 11 videos and 1 podcast. Right. In the booth, and it's tough. You know, it's tough to get it all in. Yeah, no, I totally hear you. And like I've heard that from other manufacturers too. You know, I think everyone kind of has the same kind of feeling. I know for me, from the perspective, you know, because like, I'm classified, you know, even though I'm there with a manufacturer, it's like I still have the podcast, and there's, you know, for folks who do podcasts and web TV shows and, you know, YouTube channels and stuff like that, like there's a business component to that. You know, if you are looking to, you know, if you do have sponsors or whatever, there's commitments that you're looking for and stuff like that. And like you said, like everyone's under one roof, so it's a convenient place. I think for me, you know, as a recommendation to anyone out there listening that has some type of media outlet that is looking to talk to brands and so forth, you know, it's like you definitely want to be respectful of their time, knowing that their objective of being there is not to necessarily talk to you and sponsor whatever event or, you know, medium output you have. You know what I mean? That's not their goal while they're there. So, you know, my approach is really to either send emails prior to the event and try to line up meetings and get slotted time to talk to them, right? That way I'm being respectful to, you know, the other, you know, responsibilities and priorities that they have while they're there. If there's someone that's there that is of interest that I would like to talk to, I'll go up, check out some product, I'll introduce myself, and then try to get contact information and follow up with them after the show, and not take up a bunch of their time to give them any type of spiel about what I'm doing and why I would like to work. Like, that's not what they're there for. So I try to make sure that, like, I try to build a relationship. And that's really what, like, that's probably the approach that should be taken. It's not like not selling your wares to them in the moment, like build a relationship. Because if it's something that they're honestly interested in, you attempt to build a relationship, you're going to be that much better off later than trying to, like, run in like a bull in a china store. You know what I mean? So, right. You
know what I mean? Because I just watch, I can watch you. You know what I mean? Like I've got a great window into like how it happens. You know what I mean? Like watching folks approach you with the brands that you represent and stuff like that, and what they're the ones that get your ear and attention either in the moment or after, or the ones that don't. You know what I mean? And there's definitely two different categories of approaches, and you can see them play out, as such, depending on how they approach a brand. So that would be,
well, and it's always the difference. Like the ones, that come by the booth and they're like huge fan of your stuff. I own the 10-foot ultralight. I have a 12-foot Wicked Tough. I've got 2 hand saws. One stays in my hunting pack and one stays in my truck. I wanted to come by and check out this new machete and the axe that you guys have out. These things are super awesome.
Right.
Oh, great. Glad you like them. Appreciate your business. Thank you for supporting Wicked. And they say, hey, we've been doing some blogging and it's really starting to gain some traction. Do you mind if I drop off this media kit, and maybe if you're interested, maybe we can connect? Sure, definitely. I'll take a look at it. Thanks. And they're gone. Yep. They didn't waste a bunch of time. They're already a fan of Wicked. They've already bought Wicked saws. It's like, but the ones that walk up to the booth and they stop right before they start talking to you, and they look up at the booth and they're like, you can see them reading Wicked Tree Gear. Hey man, I really like Wicked Tree Gear. Y'all want to sponsor me?
Right.
I'm like, you don't even know what booth you're at.
Right.
Like they're literally just going booth to booth. Like the bigger the booth, those are the ones. They wouldn't stop at a guy who's got a 10x10 booth. They'll only stop at the big booths. And Wicked. We're fortunate that we've got like a 20x30. It's a pretty good sized island booth. But I'm like, man, don't do that. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. Yeah. There's definitely a way to go about it to where it becomes where you have an opportunity, and there's definitely a way to go about it where you have zero opportunity. And I watch. It's like watching a train wreck.
And the people that, exactly. And the ones that usually have some kind of a marketing sales element to it, like, here's my niche. Mm-hmm. I work at an archery shop. I can influence some people inside my store. This is how we're going to help you sell saws. Not, so we'll take some photos for you. It's pretty awesome.
Right. Right. All right. So
how are you going to convert to sales? Because it takes sales to make all of this go around. Like I tell everybody, if I was a billionaire, I'd sponsor everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
Why not? You know what I mean? But
give everyone a piece.
That's not the way it works. If I sponsor every person that comes by, we're out of business by tomorrow.
Yep.
And for anybody listening, I don't discourage anybody from working in this industry and promoting the sport of hunting. We need everybody to promote the sport of hunting. For sure. But we don't all have to be like aspiring celebrities to do that from that platform. I mean, I've got a lot of goals, and wouldn't it be awesome to hunt for a living? That'd be super cool. But if you think about the people that are hunting for a living successfully, making tons of money, I mean, it's like Lee and Tiffany. It's the Drurys. You can almost count them like on at least 2 hands and maybe a foot.
Right. Yeah.
You have a better chance of being a professional football player.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's hard.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, we all know the odds of that happening are super slim to none. You have a better chance of being a professional baseball. Hell, you have a better chance of being a professional tennis player.
Right.
Than you do.
You see my forehand, dude?
Paid hunting celebrity.
I'm just saying, you see my forehand? It's pretty strong.
It's pretty solid.
It's pretty solid.
Got the right rotation going.
Yeah. I'm strong on the forehand. Backhand needs some work, but strong on the forehand. But
I'm not even going to ask how you got that strong forehand.
We'll go ahead. This seems like a real good spot to go ahead and call this one a wrap before we get into any seeding.
That's a wrap. The ATA wrap up.
Yeah, the ATA wrap up. I think one thing we did want to touch on, we might have to save till another, maybe the next catch up that you and I do, is I know that you did head up to Kentucky and do a quick hunt. So I don't know, do we want to touch on that now, or do we want to wait till the next catch up?
We can. I can do it real quick. It's,
right, let's do it.
I still had a late season tag in Iowa, and the day before I left to go to ATA, it was 60 degrees in Iowa. So it was like suntan lotion is not a very good scent eliminator to use. So went ahead and just said, screw it. I took my bow and my camo, real nitty-gritty, man, just camo and a bow. That's it. That's all I took. And brought it with me to Louisville, and I went to Bracken County, which is kind of northern Kentucky, and sat one night. So I left ATA late Saturday night, crashed when I got to Kentucky, and then we actually slept in and slept hard for like 10 hours. Then went and jumped in a blind, and we were sitting. We had corn behind us, and we had some old alfalfa field in front of us, but it was spitting a little snow. It was cold, perfect, conditions for late season. And I had 14 does, 3 bucks. 1 buck was a buck that I was familiar with from the summer. Never saw him. I had trail camera pictures of him when I was hunting there in the early season, but I didn't see him on the hoof. And he pops out, and all eyes were on him when he stepped into the field. And he came from 400 to 300 to 200, and he got to 135. He stopped. Every deer in the field looked into this draw, and they bolted like they had just seen a ghost. You know what I mean?
Interesting.
And the only thing I can assume is there had to have been like a coyote or something down in that draw or something.
Right.
Because they were all upwind of me, but it cleared out a whole field of 17 deer. Like within 1 second, they were gone.
Right.
Like gone. So
nice.
That was the end of it. That's how it wrapped up, man. I thought it was going to happen. I'm like, how cool would this be? Just a one evening sit in Kentucky and fill my Kentucky buck tag to call it a season. And he was walking a straight line right towards our blind. And but you know what? He'll be bigger next year.
Right, man. That stinks. I was actually of course, I knew that you were headed there to hunt, and I had this feeling. I was like, he's going to redeem himself after like the early season hunt. I was like, just had a feeling, and I was hoping that you would. I was hoping I would get a text message with a big buck down. But are you gonna still try to get out during late season here in Iowa while you have a little bit of time left, or you kind of?
Season's over.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Yeah, season ended January 10th.
Okay, didn't know that. All right, so you are done. Focusing.
I'm done.
Yeah. We'll have to do we'll do another show that we'll do an analysis of our season and just kind of like what we did right, what we did wrong, and what we're hoping to do for the upcoming year. But for me, my late season is still ongoing. You and I talked at ATA. I was like, I'm really kind of struggling with like the areas that I'm able to hunt right now, because I just really don't have anything that is showing up, which is kind of frustrating me. And I didn't head back to my dad's to hunt the property there. The season there is over at this point, so I can't go back there and kind of take another crack at it, which is kind of a bummer. And then I still have access to that swamp, but it's like I was telling you, it's just like someone turned the water faucet off on those deer like right before November. And the last time I was in there was like, I want to say like right before Thanksgiving. I think I was in there. No, I was in there after that. I was in there once since post Christmas, and I saw one buck while I was in there, a young buck, and I need to go back in and check the camera just to see if there's anything that has kind of made its way back. But I'm not holding out a lot of hope at this point. I'm just hoping I see some does on camera, and I'll set up and see if I can't put a little bit more meat in the freezer, because I do have another doe tag to fill out there. But I'm not holding my breath on any buck sightings. It's just I need to figure that piece out for next year and get it dialed in. I really think it's just an early season piece that I'm going to have to make hay early in the year if I can, which kind of, as you know, kind of stinks, because you can't necessarily wait on the right weather pattern in there, because you're not necessarily always going to get it that early in the season. You know what I mean? Because they start to really kind of thin out once you hit like mid-October. So it's really like, for me, like September 15th or the mid-September through like early October is really when it has to happen. They start showing up a lot less frequently at that point. So, but we'll get into that in the next show when we talk about our post our 2018 analysis and then our 2019 kind of projection. So I think with that, man, we can go ahead and shut this shit show down. What do you think?
Cool.
All
I
right,
like
man.
it. I'm going to the gym.
Do it. All right, folks, that is a wrap for today's show. We'd, of course, like to thank all of you for joining us. And if you haven't yet, please head over to iTunes and leave us a 5-star rating and subscribe to the podcast. And if you haven't yet, go ahead and give us a follow on Instagram or Facebook. We'd be super appreciative if you could do those few things for us. Those things are super helpful for the show overall. And before we shut this thing down, we need to give a big shout out to our partners that continue to help us make this podcast possible. Wicked Tree Gear, Exodus Outdoor Gear, Trophy Ridge, Ozonics, Obsession Bows, Tecumani Seed, Glacier Coolers, Ramcat Broadheads, Trophy Taker Rests, and Dead Downwind. And until next time, we'll see y'all.
November's on my heels, makes me proud, makes me steal. I could show you through the door, I ain't welcome anymore. Long time coming, if it all, it takes a special knowing to call a fall. Damage